Hey, what's going on? Well, today is 3/11/23. So I thought it'd be a good time to do a 12-year video um, from 3/11/11 with the Fukushima meltdown. Did you know that Americans have the highest levels of radiation permissible in our food? The most in the planet. And we're talking 1,200 becquerels per kilogram is what they raised it to. Now, the rest of the world is at 100. So the European Union put standards on to 100 becquerels per kilogram of cesium 137, cesium 134. And that is the isotopes of low meltdown nuclear reactor accidents. So you have low temperature reactors like Chernobyl and a few others, and the one we're talking about today is Fukushima. You're going to get these isotopes, and they have different half lives. Now, if you look at 1,200 becquerels per kilogram, compared to the rest of the world, 100, that's 12 times higher. Our food is 12 times higher in permissible amount of radiation permitted for us to eat than the rest of the world. Now, you won't find this. It's going to be very difficult. I came up with the 12 because I had to really search the internet because they really don't want us to know these things. Okay. And it did change. Okay. One time it was 370 becquerels. Okay. Right after Chernobyl. But then Fukushima happened. What did they do? They knew we were going to get food from Japan. And guess what countries never permitted any food from Japan because of this? Canada, Australia. That's kind of funny. Australia, who mines uranium, doesn't permit radioactive food for their people. New Zealand, South Korea, till today, as I sit here, China, Russia, and Taiwan won't touch that food because it's radioactive. In Japan, what they're doing, you have to understand, they've been cleaning this thing up for 10 years. And they got these 1 ton bags, 33 million of them. Somebody came up with that number, but you can look on Google and you'll see these things littered the entire country. And they're losing these things in storms. And not only are they losing these things are breaking. They're farming rice next door to these things. You can look this up, look at it, grab it before Google takes it down, because Google will put clouds over these places so you can't find this stuff. So now it comes across the ocean. It goes to California. Don't eat nothing from California. It gets labeled whatever. And you know that our government has only done 1,500 food tests in the last 10 years? 2 years ago, they did a total of 150, maybe, I'm sorry, 20 nuclear tests for the thousands and thousands and thousands of tons of food that comes from there. 20 tests in 1 year. 150, or I think it was 150 total. It should have been like 150,000. Okay. Now they're saying, oh, it's okay. You know what they did? They raised the food, the permissible limits. This is not, and I'll talk about the other limits of 1,200 becquerels. And United Nations, European Union, everybody in Europe has it under 100. 12 times the amount. Now, you can't find the 12 times part. They just give you the numbers because they think we're all stupid. If you know your math, you divide that out. It's 12 times the amount. And then you want to put that in percentages. Ready for this? 1,100% increase. You and me and the rest of the Americans are allowed to eat food that's contaminated with radioactivity of cesium 134 and 137. These are fallouts. They're in the food. 1,100 times percent higher than our buddies over there anywhere in Europe. Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, now you guys are watching. What are you watching in the news today? This week was a couple people that went over the border to get some kind of medical treatment, and oh, don't go across the border, they're gonna kill you. Fear porn, fear, and they're pushing that on all the news medias. And what's the news? The news is this is 12 years since Fukushima. The stuff is still melting, and now they're gonna dump millions of gallons of radioactive water, which they've been doing all along. The starfish are dead. And they're blaming it on some kind of disease. Of course they are. The sea urchins are dead. And they're not testing the food that they're shipping to us. They are testing it. Like what? 1,500 tests in 10 years? And they raised the limits. Our president's been raising these limits. Why? Because we got to eat that poisonous radioactive food that's coming over from Japan. And they're growing rice and vegetables next to these thousands and thousands of 1-ton bags. And by the stuff in the bags isn't even cesium, it's uranium. This stuff's got a half-life of like thousands and thousands of years. And everybody, and not everybody, 30% of all the kids in Japan have issues with their throats. And they say nobody died. Now, any of you people that's going to say underneath this thing as a comment, well, nobody died at Fukushima. You're an idiot. You're ignorant. You have cognitive dissonance. You have no individualism. You have no critical thinking capabilities whatsoever. You know what they were doing when this thing went down? They were paying people's families to bring their old grandparents to clean the place up. And they gave thousands of, I think it was like $5,000-$10,000 per grandpa, grandma, whatever. They put them in white suits and they're cleaning the place up. Though they didn't die there, they died after they left. Oh yeah. And look at all the people now that are getting sick and dying from cancer. Excuse my voice. Probably from Fukushima. From Chernobyl. 20, 30 years later, man. That's how, you don't die right away. What about Naga? Those bombs they blew up in Japan, they're nothing compared to the stuff we blew up in our deserts. Unbelievable. And so the news is, that they're fear porn. Okay, back to I only have one page of notes today. They're not even notes; they're scribbles. That news that you're watching today about those people going over, you know what that's really about? It's to make you afraid to go anywhere for treatment, to make you stay in your house, to go to your doctor, your American doctor, get all your drugs from America, because if you don't, they'll take care of you. They'll put you out. And instead of the other news, and I don't watch news, but do you remember January 6th? They had a couple videos and, they stormed that White Place, that building. They stormed it. They showed us some videos. They looked pretty bad, didn't they? Well, I just saw some new videos just came out. Why didn't they show you the videos they're showing you now? And you're like, wait a minute. They're like taking people to these rooms. It's like they only show you what they want you to see. They only tell you what they want you. That's part of their narrative. They need you stupid, so you people are going to say, nobody died at Fukushima. They want more of you idiots because you're friggin' idiots. You know what? Please don't reproduce. And in the meantime, your vegetables could, I'm not saying they do, are allowed to have 1,200 becquerels per kilogram of radioactive isotopes of cesium-134 and cesium-137. Now, okay, let's talk about the air. So 1973, now this is eating food. Let's break away from that. Let's go to the next level here, next paragraph, all right? So back in 1973, what was in 1973? Oh, well, in 63, they quit doing those bombs because our president Kennedy says, no more blowing up atomic bombs in the West for you. Well, it was the first time they raised it. They gave us limits of 25 millirems. Now, I'm not going to get into what becquerels are, millirems and rems. Just use them. Just think of the numbers for now. Okay, if you want to learn about all this scientific nomenclatures. You can look it up yourself. But 25 millirem, okay? Then what they did is they raised it. After what was that accident? 3 Mile Island? What about all the other releases? There's a couple been in Chicago. Yeah, couple up in the mountains. Yeah, they don't tell you about any of this stuff. Okay, they raised it to 1,000. Okay, and they raised it to 1,000. Okay, and they said that still 100. I'm sorry, they raised it to 100. But ready for this? If you live near a nuclear reactor, it's 1,000. 1,000 millirems. It's okay for you that live near a nuclear reactor, but the rest of us, it's 100. Something not right with that. Ready for this one? And because there's so many people being exposed to radiation in the workplace, they bumped it to 5,000 millirems for workers. And you know what? Going from that's a 4,900% increase. Yeah, you can go to work, get exposed. It's okay. Go to cafeteria. Oh, eat some radioactive cesium induced food because 1,200 becquerels is what we're allowed. But if you take that apple and you try to go to Europe with it, they're going to test that apple before you take it over the border. And they say, we got rule 100. We got 100. These are your last administrations that did this. And even today, China, Taiwan, Russia. You know what? Russia won't touch that food from Japan. No, because they know it's not good. That is their food. You cannot. I mean, they're literally growing rice next to hundreds of thousands of 1-ton bags full of uranium. I mean, you could throw a stone from the rice paddy to the contaminated storage. It's unbelievable. And so that's your news. That's your news. It ain't somebody going over the border. Okay, I'm sorry.